What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here, and this is the iPhone 6 versus the Samsung Galaxy S5, its dreaded competitor. So like I promised, I was going to do a full review of these devices, and now that I've had them both for a while, spent some time with them, I can go ahead and do that. So let's see how the iPhone 6 stacks up to the Galaxy S5. As always, it is hard staying objective when discussing these devices, so I'm not going to say which one is better, but I will give you guys the points of each one, and then let you decide based on your needs which one is the one for you. Now I think it's important to mention that the Galaxy S5 is about halfway through its life cycle, whereas the iPhone 6 is brand new and fresh. Now for people that want to buy a phone now, that shouldn't influence your decision, but if you're thinking of upgrading in the future, it might be a better idea to wait for the Galaxy S6. The Samsung Galaxy S5, it's the result of Samsung and Apple competing for 5 generations. So what we have is a water-resistant, plastic-made, feature-packed device. Samsung's focus on the Samsung Galaxy S5 was to add a whole bunch of features that people actually wanted or didn't even want and stick them in and then sell the device, and it came out pretty good. So it has a lot of cool things only exclusive to the device that the iPhone 6 doesn't have, and probably the most notable of course is the water resistance. From that to selective focus to multitasking, true multitasking with several windows, it's a great device. Now Apple's approach with the iPhone 6 is to take everything they've learned from the older devices and keep improving and simplifying it, and it's made a very great experience with the iPhone 6. The words I would use to describe this phone is simple, elegant, and everything just works. So let's get into the details. The iPhone 6 comes in 3 colors: gold, silver, and space gray. The S5 comes in black, white, blue, and copper. These devices couldn't be more different when it comes to build material. One is made out of a solid piece of aluminum that's drilled out, whereas the other is molded from plastic. When you feel these devices in your hand, the iPhone 6 definitely feels like it has more quality to it. It really feels like an expensive device, whereas the Galaxy S5, of course, it's made of plastic, so it's not going to have as much of a premium feel to it as the iPhone 6. The dimensions of the Galaxy S5 are definitely bigger, so it is a larger device. It is heavier as well. The iPhone 6, of course, it does have to fit in a smaller screen, but it is a smaller device and it's lighter. It's 129 grams versus 145 of the Galaxy S5. Displays are both great. They're just made from a different technology. The S5 has a 5.1-inch 1920 by 1080p Super AMOLED display with a 432 pixel density. The iPhone 6 has a 4.7-inch 1334 by 750 resolution with a 326 pixel density. It's an IPS display, completely different from a Super AMOLED, and it's important to understand the difference between these displays. The Super AMOLED represents black colors very well. It just looks very vibrant and it's very efficient. The IPS display has really good viewing angles. It's pretty much an old technology, but it just looks great. So here is the very exact same photo displayed on both displays. The brightness has been turned up all the way, and as you guys can see, it's very bright and a little overexposed on the Galaxy S5 on the bottom. The iPhone 6 has more true to life colors. They're not as vibrant, but they're definitely true to life, and they both look great. No complaints here. Outdoor usage is a different story though. So both of these devices have their displays turned up all the way, and this is in direct sunlight. I found both of them to be unusable. Now the Galaxy S5 is supposedly supposed to have a better display in sunlight, but I personally couldn't tell a difference. They were both unusable and it's just really hard to see things. Now it gets interesting at the cameras. The Galaxy S5 has a 16 megapixel sensor and it's capable of 4K at 30 frames per second. The iPhone 6 has more features: 8 megapixel sensor, same aperture as the Galaxy S5, capable of 1080p at 60 frames per second, but it has 240 frames per second slow motion, and as I'm going to show you, it's quite amazing. It also has True Tone Flash, which is dual LEDs, and it has focus pixels for ultimate really fast focus. So this is the comparison of 1080p at 60 frames per second between the Galaxy S5 and the iPhone 6. Can you guess which one is which? The Galaxy S5 is the one on the left, and it's very obvious that it does overexpose its images. As you can see, the one on the right is the one that's more true to life. I actually compared it to the actual color of the flower, and the iPhone 6 definitely wins hands down in terms of true to life color. So the color is definitely a little more natural and lifelike on the iPhone 6. And take note, this is exactly the same distance recording from the subject. So the iPhone 6 does zoom in just a little bit more than the Galaxy S5 by default. The aperture is exactly the same on both devices, so low light should be good. Now where the iPhone 6 shines is focus. It has this new technology called focus focus pixels, so focusing is just instantaneous and it's very sharp. The slow motion on the iPhone 6 is simply incredible. You'll find yourself filming things and seeing just how much cooler they look in 240 frames per second slow motion. When it comes to battery, the Galaxy S5 has a killer feature, and that's a removable and upgradable battery. The battery on the Galaxy S5 is at 2800 mAh, whereas the iPhone 6 one is 1810. Battery life on the Galaxy S5 is about 35% better. Both of these devices have great battery life, but the S5 just has that little bit extra. On paper, the Galaxy S5 simply blows the iPhone 6 out of the water when it comes to processing power. However, I think you guys will be so surprised when we actually run a Geekbench and determine real-life usage between these devices, which device comes first. Just remember, iPhone is very well optimized even though numbers may be lower. Okay, so I've already downloaded Geekbench on both devices, and let's go ahead and run it and see how these devices actually stack up when we're not just looking at specs. Too many people make the mistake of saying, oh wow, this device is better just because the numbers are higher than the other one, and that's not true. Actually using the devices, putting them through their paces, we'll be able to see which one is the true winner. With the Galaxy series, it's always been about higher numbers. They just stuff power into the devices, and it's true, raw power is better, but system optimization is number one, because you can have a crazy powered processor, but if your device isn't optimized to run it, you're never going to utilize the entire thing. Well, as you can see, here are the results from the iPhone 6. We can't compare them yet because that one isn't done, but it has finished considerably faster. And yes, I have closed everything out. I'm running this test on a fresh restart with nothing running in the background. Fast forward, and we're just about done. Now, these numbers surprised me. The Galaxy S5 is seemingly a far superior device on paper, but when it actually comes to doing the test, wow, the iPhone 6 kicks its ass, and I was really surprised. That's some really good system optimization on the iPhone 6. That just goes to show you that bigger numbers don't necessarily mean better results. Let's talk about storage. On the Galaxy S5, just buy a micro SD card, pry off that rear cover, just plop it in, and boom, you have instantly more storage from the stock 32 gigabytes that it comes with, and it's such a simple solution. Now, if you want to upgrade the memory on your iPhone 6, it goes something a little like this. Take your original box, put your iPhone 6 inside of it, reseal it, sell it, and buy another one, because there's literally no way to upgrade the memory yourself, and Apple charges $100 in between memory options. What you buy is what you're stuck with. Now, the OS, the user interface, that's something that's completely up to you. I just want to mention that the iPhone 6 is simple. Everything is there, everything works. Software updates are for all devices at the exact same time, and there's just unparalleled support. The Galaxy S5 is all about being different, being in control, being able to manage the device, customize it however you want, because Android is an ultimately more customizable experience. Even though Apple is trying to catch up with widgets and a couple custom keyboards, there's really no comparison between customization between the iPhone 6 and the Galaxy S5. Between these devices, price is exactly the same. The Samsung Galaxy S5 starts at $649 with 32 gigabytes of memory, and same with the iPhone 6. However, the iPhone 6 starts with 16. The iPhone 6 does get more expensive the higher up you go in memory options, so between 16 and 64 gigabytes, there's a $100 difference. Between 64 and 128, there's also a $100 difference. Even though it only costs Apple around $8 between memory options, they charge us $100 for memory that we can't replace. The Galaxy S5 has several features that the iPhone 6 doesn't, and they're pretty cool, such as multi-window multitasking. You can be browsing the internet up there while you're responding to a message down below. And the iPhone 6 has its own Touch ID reachability thing, which the Galaxy S5 doesn't have access to so easily, where you can just double tap the button. The S5 has a built-in heart rate monitor on the back, which the iPhone 6 does not, as well as an infrared remote, which is cool for controlling your TV. And now, a good thing that the iPhone 6 does not have is bloatware. When you get an S5, you're going to have so much applications on it that you don't want. Of course, depending on which carrier you have, they all install varying amounts of bloatware. The iPhone 6 comes clean, and these apps that do come with it, you can easily uninstall them. On the S5, you cannot uninstall those applications that it comes preloaded with unless you root your phone. The iPhone 6 has unparalleled support, so when a software update does come out, every single iPhone will get it on any carrier. Unlike the S5, it's really a hit and miss, and that's one of the biggest negatives of the S5. So in conclusion, these phones are both great. They perform just like how you'd expect a $600 to $700 phone to perform. They do everything you need. However, each device has something particular to it that the other doesn't. One does something better than the other, and it really comes down to personal preference for most of it, but hopefully in this video I did help you determine which device is more for you than the other. I know that it can be difficult deciding between these phones, so have a great day guys. Peace.